Rumors of Trudeau resigning. See, so it's one of those things where if he resigns and triggers a leadership race, they're going to ask for 4 months prorogation or something to that effect to get their new leader set in place before they trigger an election. And the Governor General may say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't think the Canadian public want that. And Canada is currently in crisis, facing a 25% tariff from our biggest trading partner. And that wouldn't be dealt with prioritizing the Liberals' leadership race, right? You need a team of people who understand what the problem is, who can actually address it. So, I mean, that's interesting. But it's not even a question of what the Liberals are going to prioritize. Like, of course, they're going to prioritize their leadership race. They have no interest in Canada. They have no interest in Canada further than how Canada and its tax base can fund their insane megalomaniac utopia ideas. So my prediction is that they're going to try and trigger a prorogation, go into a leadership race rather than dealing with the country's crisis. So that's just my prediction. Hope I'm wrong. Costco's food prices are increasing again, but Costco is building housing above some of its stores. And this is actually just the article is framed, or the tweet is framed like the Costco is building housing to create a walkable city or something like that, right? And I think when you read into it, somebody else says, no, in actuality, they were denied zoning unless they did this. So the municipality is actually forcing it. I'm sure, right? This is like state and like it's a hand in glove kind of solution. Like somebody said, oh yeah, we'd like to build a house, but we'd never get approval for that. And the councilors are like, oh, well, what if we told you had to, right? Like there's something not hinky going on, but they have a built-in customer base then in their store, on top of their store, right? And like, would you live at a Costco, right? It's idiocracy. Welcome to Costco. We love you, right? Like, it's unbelievable. More info on the Cybertruck bomber and the whole interview link. So Noel sent me the whole interview link, and I've got that at the end of the show. And I've got an Ian Carroll dig and breakdown about what's really going on. Zelensky. That was going to be the big punch at the end, spoiler alert. But Ian Carroll talks about at the end of the show how there's more to this whole thing than meets the eye with regards to what's going on here. We're not being told the whole story. And so, I mean, it's very, very interesting. And so I don't know if the whole interview I think it's James Ryan, is legit or if it's all part of the psyop. We'll see. There's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. I was at the store yesterday I was at the store and I walked by, this was Zayre's, and it says the Little Potato Company. And I was like, semi-serious question, Andy Lee, does China own this company? Little Potato Company. Right? I don't know. One of them looks, look at the similarities. Holy smokeronis. It's uncanny. It's uncanny. There's a picture of Justin Trudeau on these tweets, which I didn't realize until I saw him, and then I saw him again. Okay. Kian Beck says people close to Trudeau are saying that he will resign on Monday. Do you have any words of encouragement for him? Yeah, like go. Make it snappy, for crying out loud. Should he be forced to face voters before taking the coward's way out? I feel like as soon as Trudeau steps down, there should be an election. But I know in my heart of hearts that that's not going to happen because Jagmeet Singh is going to say, now that Trudeau's gone, he was the real problem. And we can get on with governing, stably until the election in October 2025. That's what I think is going to happen. Here's Michelle Rempel, and she's talking about the impact of allowing Trudeau to step down. They get to undemocratically put in the next two prime ministers, the interim Liberal leader and then the full-time Liberal leader, Chrystia Freeland, Mark Carney, two new prime ministers in a matter of weeks or months, all because the Liberals don't want to go to an election. This is Michelle Rempel's breakdown. She talks about Jagmeet Singh and why he would allow this. And basically she says it boils down to they want to hold on to their power. They want to hold on to the little power they have for as long as they possibly can. I don't think she's wrong. I think that's probably pretty accurate. Anyway, here we go. Michelle Rempel talking about what Justin Trudeau is probably going to do.
Just quits and says, I don't want to be interim leader. Then a small handful of Liberal insiders, the National Board of Directors of the Liberal Party, would literally pick the next Prime Minister of Canada. Like, think about it, like a few unelected people would, with a wave of a pen, just select whoever they want to be the Prime Minister of Canada at a time of crisis. That is actually what would happen. That is actually the process that would happen. Then, if Justin Trudeau said, well, I'm going to be the interim leader, okay, so Justin Trudeau stays on, and he's a lame duck prime minister at a time of national crisis instead of going to an election. If there is a scenario here where if the Liberals, these Liberal insiders choose an interim leader, okay, then they go through a Liberal leadership race. That means that Liberal insiders would pick 2 prime ministers in 2025 instead of going to a general election. So it's completely outrageous, unbelievable. Just like think about this. If you vote Liberal in the past,
she needs to work on her closer. ABC, baby, come on. Jagmeet Singh is, Tamara Litch says, one of the best parody accounts on X. Jagmeet Singh is sniffing his own farts. I went to the NDP. Is this it? No, it's not. I went to the NDP page on X, and every single one of their posts is ratioed like crazy. Every single one, because that post I just showed you is ratioed, but they're all this one has 97 likes and 427 comments. That's a big ratio. 92 likes, 654 comments. And this is just in 2024, New Democrats secured many wins for Canadians. We're not done. With your help, we can continue to take on Pierre Poilievre and his conservative cuts. Are you in? New year, New Democrats still fighting for you. Right. So it's kind of benign, kind of nobody cares, you get some likes, you get some shares, whatever. 654 comments telling, do you think that they're good comments? I think they're mostly F off, guys. You guys have destroyed the country by supporting Justin Trudeau. Let's see. That's my prediction. Let's see. First comment. The NDP are no longer a party. They're a terrorist faction in Canada with a leader who lies constantly. Ding, ding, ding. I mean, I've got my finger on the pulse. The NDP do not. They don't. And in fact, they would come to me and say, you're far right. And I would say, get bent, you losers. Anyway, here's Jagmeet Singh smelling his own farts, saying, we can win together. Not in your comment section. Not together in your comment section, Jagmeet Singh. I'm only showing you this to show how delusional our leadership is. These people are completely out of touch. Here we go.
Don't let them tell you it can't be done. If we are together...
Hold on. What if we don't want it to be done? What if when they say it can't be done, they're not saying pessimistically, they're saying reassuringly, don't worry, it can't be done. He can't win. Right? Honestly, we don't want this, Jagmeet. Go away. I'm just backing up a little bit.
Don't let them tell you it can't be done.
We want you gone.
If we are together, anything is possible. For anyone out there, if you reject conservative cuts, I need you. If you want to build a...
Okay, that's the rest of the ad. I'm not interested in listening to him. So that's what Jagmeet Singh is doing. And he's getting ratioed 376 likes to 1.4 thousand comments. And one of them is hilariously laughing at him. And she ratioed him too with 1.2 thousand likes. So pretty interesting stuff. That's a positive post, right? Good job, Tamara Litch, for X's new algorithm change, which has not happened yet, but it's in the process. And it'll be announced when it's actually live. I'm sure they're programming it and testing it on their internal X account or something. Stephen says, Stephen Harper roasts Jagmeet Singh. And yeah, he makes a pretty good point here. I think this is pretty recent. Here we go.
In fact, with the NDP as a branch plant now of the Liberal Party, only Jagmeet Singh could walk into a room with Trudeau and come out with a deal where he gets nothing. I mean, seriously. I say this is out of pure jealousy. I just wish I'd had an opposition leader like that somewhere. Support me and I'll make sure you never have to go back to the voters, or at least for 5 years.
The hits keep coming, right? Jeepers Creepers. That was 30 seconds of stand-up from Mr. Harper. So yeah, the NDP are being ratioed, being called out, and they're completely out of touch and ignoring it. So that's interesting. Right. And here is Brian Lilly. And this is kind of in the same vein as the elections, but this is a little history for Chrystia Freeland coming back. This is some schadenfreude. And Brian Lilly says, Canadian media have blindly praised Chrystia Freeland because she had been a journalist too. Except if you looked at her record in journalism, it was all sizzle, no steak. American outlets covered her disastrous run at Reuters. Here's a view from a woman who worked for Freeland. So Leah says, I don't normally write about Canada, but I'll make an exception for Freeland. 13 years ago, Chrystia Freeland fired me. I was running the Thomson Reuters online news service for the US and Canada based in Toronto. I had a 5-week-old baby, but came back to talk to her about ways to cut costs for my 24/7 news operation, which included 40 dedicated multimedia journalists. I came prepared with ideas, but before I could speak, she shushed me and said it's never easy when the invading army outgrows the ancient regime. At 36, I didn't feel ancient or anything. I was one of a few female news leaders consistently hitting above my performance target. She told me essentially to go home. I was replaced by a man in New York whom I had hired, and they dragged their feet until the end of my mat leave to finally let me go, moving the entire digital news operation to Bangalore. I don't love what's happening to the government at the moment, especially with the historically low Canadian dollar and Trump's threat of tariffs. However, I would love to say to her, who's the ancient regime now? That's it, folks. 13-year-old grudge released. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So there you go. Yeah, Chrystia Freeland is exactly who I think she is. I think maybe a worse. Maybe, I was going to say maybe a little worse, but I think maybe just worse by itself suffices. The food professor, let's talk about food and the cost of food and things like that. Food professor says, food prices in Canada have rocketed since 2022, with many staples outpacing inflation. Top increases: olive oil up 60%, infant formula up over 30%, beef cuts up 20%, ground beef up 20%, chicken breasts up 15%, orange juice up 40%, butter up 10%, cheese up 12%. So yay, inflation, food inflation. How long can Canada be in crisis while the government flails, right? It's honestly, and they it's not that they don't care. It's that this is the expected outcome of their policies. So instead of fixing the problem, they're charged with onboarding Canadians, saying, no, you like $10 dozens of eggs. In fact, you'd prefer $20 dozens of eggs. That's the thing. And the value proposition is crap, because no, we don't. We don't want that at all. It's like Jagmeet Singh saying, oh, together we can win. Give me a break. Give me a break, dude. Look in your comment section for half a second. Get your head out of your you-know-what, right? My gosh. Andrews says Costco is building apartments above its store. This is in the United States as well, to address the affordable housing crisis starting early this year. I believe this is in the United States. Walking downstairs and getting a $1.50 hot dog gives new meaning to affordable walkability. They'd have to have a cafe. If I lived at Costco, I think I'd be like, well, it's lunchtime. I'm going to get a $1.50 hot dog and a chocolate milk. And then I'd gain weight. Oh man, it would be terrible. It would be awful, terrible, and amazing. Terrible. It would be terrible. I am not a Costco fan. They are 100% balls deep, proverbially, into the globalist plan. They're financially supported by the globalists. They were the first to do masking. They're bringing in digital IDs. Like, I am not Costco's first fan or anything like that. And my gosh, like, all they have to dangle in front of me is a $1.50 hot dog. And I'm like, I've forgotten it all, Costco. Give me that $1.50 hot dog. I'll go back up to my cube upstairs. Thank you. It's so crazy. Walking downstairs, yeah. It includes free membership, a rooftop pool, fitness area, gardens, courtyards, and a community space. Your room itself is very small. Los Angeles is the first residential complex with 800 apartments and a built-in store. Would you live in a Costco? What's the rent? And like, there are going to be people who are petitioning Costco to build on top of their stores right now. They're going to say, like, dear Costco, we heard about Los Angeles. Like, we'd like our $1.50 hot dogs in a cafe. Thank you very much. Mario says Japan declares foul play. Foul, like F-O-W-L, like bird fowl. 50,000 chickens culled in bird flu outbreak. Right? Like, this is not good. U8 authorities have begun culling 50,000 chickens after yet another bird flu outbreak, bringing the total to 19 this season. Moreover, flu season, this one has feathers. Nearby farms with 170,000 birds are on lockdown, while 3.8 million chickens are grounded in a no-fly zone. Okay, just if a bird has the flu, can they still lay eggs? If I eat the eggs and cook it, I don't think, like, I'm not doing Rocky-style raw eggs from bird flu, whatever, but I think I would. Like, if I was doing, I don't do that anyway, but I think if I was like Rocky, I'd do it. I'd be like, yeah, whatever, fine. Like, get used to it. Immune system, right? And so, like, I don't think that this whole we've got to kill all the chickens who are sick is a good idea, because, like, if you're sick, right, and then you get better, your child is immune to that illness, has antibodies against the illness. There's all sorts of, like, benefits to that. So what is, like, why? Let's kill all these chickens. Didn't they develop antibodies for that flu thing that they all lived through? Let's just kill them anyway because of the risks. It's for your safety, comrade. Come with us, chickens. It's insanity. All it's doing is increasing the cost of things. And I was at a store yesterday. Eggs full, absolutely full, like stocked to the brim. There were eggs like everywhere. I was like, okay, I get it. Eggs are everywhere, but still, right? So all around the world, there seems to be concerns about eggs but in my local, it's the green one. They had tons of eggs. So if you need eggs, go to the green one. It's the no frills. No, it's not. That's yellow. Bernie's Food Basic is the green one. Nearby farms. Yeah. Okay. Recent weeks have seen over 1.3 million birds culled nationwide because apparently when it rains, it plagues. So that's the inside paper. So Japan is doing that kind of stuff. Pretty wild. And I really, truly believe that the bird flu is going to be used to go after food and not after a lockdown. They're going to try and lock us down through climate change or nuclear radiation. I hope I'm wrong about that. Fingers crossed. I want to be wrong about that. Really, really. Market Mania says, only hiring people from their own country in Canada. We're going to talk about the invasion ongoing in Canada and around the world. And our Calgary on Reddit says, my boss of a Calgary business is only hiring people from his home country. I've noticed the last 15 hires have all been from his home country, and his home country isn't the kindest to women. He recently made a woman the lab supervisor, but doesn't help her with any technicians, such as reviewing or renewing their contracts or anything. It's starting to feel like he's quiet firing her, but she works really hard. The overarching company promotes diversity. What options are there in Calgary? We work for the government B2B. Would prefer to remain anonymous for my own sake. Or we work with the government B2B. Would prefer to remain anonymous for my own sake. So this is what the Canadian government is partnering with, and I'm not surprised, right? Is the owner also an MP or a bureaucrat at any level of government? Because again, I would not be surprised whatsoever. So what do you do in that situation? Get another job. Run like HE double hockey sticks. Anti-taxer says, we're in so much trouble in Canada. It's almost impossible to explain this to people who have stuck their heads in the sand for years, while the liberal mass imported people who hate everything about us. Canadians who drove their trucks, their big rigs to Ottawa to treat with the government about vaccine mandates were treated as terrorists, as people who wanted to overthrow the government, as insurrectionists almost, just like the January 6ers. And they wanted to throw the book at these people. They brought riot horses. They vilified them in the newspaper for years. Zexi Lee made up a traumatic story about wanting to watch Netflix and being violently attacked, assaulted by her ears from the truckers. Assaulted on her ears by the truckers. And it's bullshit. It's all absolute bullshit. And these people have been doing this for a year and a half and nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're allowed to intimidate people, shut down roadways, go after infrastructure, do all sorts of stuff. It's just like the rail blockades. It's just like Black Lives Matter when they were pulling down statues. This is communist. We are currently living in an occupied situation. Our government does not work for us. And I don't know how to make that plainer, but the more plain I make it, the more censored I am. So, oh well. They work for people who want to use mobs like this to destabilize the country, because you can't create a communist dictatorship out of a functioning democracy, out of a functioning capitalistic Western country. So you have to destroy it and then say, you know who destroyed it? Those capitalists over there, those kulaks over there, those farmers over there, they did it to you. And then the disaffected population, the people who are marching in this, who are just blindly saying free, free Palestine or whatever it is, they'll go and take their farms. And then people will starve because they don't know how to do anything, right? So we're being manipulated by the press and the government, and they damn well know what they're doing. They know it. This is about a foreign government. This is nothing that can be done in Canada. Nothing at all. They're disrupting people. This is New Year's Day, right? They're disrupting people. They're doing this on purpose. It's a show of force. They're trying to create chaos in our country. If you protest our country, they will come down on you like you're terrorists. Terrorists trying to foment wars in our country about foreign countries are treated like, oh, peaceful protesters. Pay attention, because they're doing this on purpose. It's not a mistake. Here are two English guys talking about what's happening in England. This is happening all across the West. It's not just Canada. It's not just the United States. It's not just Australia and New Zealand. It's England too, all of Europe. Okay. Here are these two guys. This guy's got a bit of an accent, but I think you'll be able to understand him. Here we go.
England's England. And sometimes I don't even want to be here.
Why is that?
Bad.
Well, it's getting worse.
Too many bloody foreigners. You look around, there's a foreigner. No more England. Might as well name it something else. Hell.
Hell? Why hell?
There's too many foreigners.
Immigrants are jarring.
There we go, what he said.
What's that?
Immigrants are jarring.
What does that mean, jarring?
Annoying. Send them back. You have homeless English people not getting housed, but you have immigrants that come here. They're illegal and they get housed. It's a joke.
So just illegal. You're saying just illegal.
Illegal immigrants.
But legal. I'm talking about. I just asked that.
Yeah, but,
Just about legal migrants.
Yeah, but even if they're legal immigrants, they still shouldn't be put over English people. No. We spend too much tax money on immigrants, and I think that's a joke. And we should worry about our own people before others.
Do you think the political class generally are doing that then?
No. I think the Conservative Party is an absolute joke, and young people in this country don't have a voice, and it makes me sick.
And what? So if you could vote, lads, who would you vote for?
Who would I vote for?
Yeah.
Reform UK, probably.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Reform.
Yes, mate. Yes. Get rid of that.
And unfortunately, I feel like it's not enough, not nearly close enough, not nearly close enough. And that's unfortunate, right? Very unfortunate. Steve says, how do you deport people with no ID when you don't know where they're from? How do you deport Afghans, Syrians, Iranians, Sudanese, etc., whose countries won't accept them and won't allow planes to land, even if they have ID? I've talked about that a lot. And here's Steve. He says, lots of people here are suggesting ways we could do it. That's not the point. None of these are reforms policy. Their policy is just put them on a plane, which is bullshit. So they're saying something without really backing it up with actionable policy, I guess. And so that's interesting, right? They're trying to get you to fill in, like if you're a British voter, they're trying to get you to fill in what they're going to do, despite them not having a robust plan. Now, there is a way to do it, but the Reform Party UK is not necessarily talking about it yet. So there you go. Cat Turd says, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pigeons. Ollie London says, New York City halal vendor caught catching live pigeons and bringing them back to his food truck, right? Oh, so do you want a chicken shawarma? Halal chicken shawarma? I killed it myself. Chicken, with air quotes. Right? You see what he did? Walked over to a bunch of pigeons with a bag. Boom, into there. Free food, right? Yeah, you can see the pigeon in the bag. You can see it. You can see the pigeon in the bag. That's crazy. Canada Proud says, the Trudeau Liberals have announced a new immigration program called the Rural Community Immigration Class, which aims to help settle immigrants in rural communities across Canada. So that's not so good. Quite sinister. Here's Jim McMurtry. He says, Manitoba Museum's race-based admission prices. Choose from available items. A general adult, $17. General seniors, $15. General youth, $10. General child free. Indigenous adult. Well, I was born here. Indigenous? What do you mean indigenous? Right? $0. Indigenous child, $0. Indigenous senior, $0. Indigenous youth, $0. So, weird, right? That's okay. Race-based admission prices are okay. First Nations people, Indigenous people, don't pay tax in the first place. So I was born here, right? There are people who are arriving and the government subsidizes their wages. What? WTF, man? Everybody but Canadians like me get subsidies? Table Salt says, liberal art politicians, what if we brought in 3 million low-wage workers? This would pop the economy so freaking bad. Me in the back, what if they're so poor they can't even afford to buy the products they sell? Or food. 3 million people, no new retail spending. That's the red line. No new retail, right? So our economy is on life support. And it's it's like a knife's edge. If we do anything wrong, I think the whole thing could kind of implode. So that's worrisome, just a little worrisome. Page Wizard Games says, this is a serious issue at many universities in Canada. He's responding to Riley. Riley says Cape Breton University is hit hard by immigration crackdown. In 2023, 75% of its student body consisted of international students. Cape Breton University faces budget cuts up to $20 million due to international student cap. So they've put all their eggs in the international student basket, and now that basket's closed, and ruh-roh, they're going to have to make cuts, right? And so what are they going to do? Page Wizard says, this is a serious issue at many universities in Canada. This is a more severe example. People often only talk about the fake schools. The public universities engage in these, in my opinion, predatory practices that often lower academic standards. Yes. Yeah, look at the colleges and the fake colleges, and like Conestoga College in Ontario has created a situation where it's got a reputation as a diploma mill rather than an education facility. And that's like, you don't want that. You don't want that because you're trying to sell an education, right? So it's pretty wild. This is former British police officer, ex-police officer Donnie Miller speaks out, and she's talking about trafficking children. She's saying that the police told her when she worked for them that maybe the girls were consenting to sex. The girls were consenting to this sex. It's actually, it's quite a trendy thing to do. These girls were between they were children, like very young children. So here's part of it. Oh, and it's too fast. Way too fast. It's a little loud. Like, I don't know that the crowd noise and her accent, it's kind of difficult to hear, but I hope you can kind of make out what she's saying.
On the 19th of October 2018, and I hope you are listening, former Chief Crown Prosecutor Mr. Nazir Afwaz stated in an interview to the BBC Radio 4 that in 2008, the Labour government under Prime Minister Gordon Brown and Home Secretary Jackie Smith sent a circular to all police forces in this country saying that as far as these young girls who are being exploited in towns and cities, we believe that they have made an informed choice about their sexual behaviour, and therefore it is not for you police officers to get involved in. Did you know that?
It's a full 10-minute thing. So she's talking about corruption. Here's more stories of corruption and police running cover for grooming gangs in the UK. Sam says, when the police learned that gangs were approaching children at a school gate, they hid the information from parents in case it led to community tensions. Police failures, this residence to an obvious truth repeated itself across the country. By 2010, a West Midlands police report showed that authorities were aware that grooming gangs were approaching children at school gates. But as the report said, the predominant offender profile of Pakistani Muslim males combined with the predominant victim profile of white females has the potential to cause significant community tensions. As a result, the report remained unpublished until released in response to a Freedom of Information request 5 years later. So they knew for 5 years that Pakistani Muslim gangs were targeting children at school gates, and they didn't tell anybody because people might get upset, racially upset. Don't be a racist, or I'll put you in the gulag for treatment, for your safety, comrade. Hunter says, white girls matter the least is official UK court precedent. A child molester who abused 2 Asian girls was rightly given a longer sentence than if his victims had been white because Asian sex crime victims suffer more, a leading judge has ruled. Mr. Justice Walker said it was proper for pedophile Jamil Muhammad Rahim ul Nasser to have been given a tougher than normal sentence because his victims were Asian. And then Sam again says, while these scandals were unfolding, judges were handing out harsher sentences to pedophiles who chose non-white victims because they would feel greater shame. So pretty crazy stuff going on and people running cover. And why do they run cover? Well, I mean, they're incentivized to run cover because I think the people who are in charge are not the people who we think are in charge. It's a distraction as well. Here is Tommy Robinson's in prison, and this guy is trying to go visit him, and they're trying to get him to sign an NDA so he can't talk about what him and Tommy talk about. And so Lewis Brackpool says, as expected, HMP Woodhill has rejected my visit to Tommy Robinson after I refused to sign an NDA that would have prevented me from reporting on his current condition. However, there's more to this story, even as I follow the channels they've instructed me to use. So here's, we'll just leave it there. Links in the description. But there are no laws on the books that say you have to sign an NDA for visiting somebody in prison. The laws actually protect the person in prison and have like robust parameters around how visitations can be managed by the prison and so on and so forth. So it's interesting that this is happening, that this is even allowed to happen, right? That's pretty interesting, really, honestly. Gad Sad says, yes, in response to 250,000 white British girls being raped by noble, undocumented lovemakers, England is considering adopting more stringent Islamophobia guidelines. Ministers are considering adopting Islamophobia definition. So in response to the coming to light of collective and coordinated grooming gangs operating in England for decades, we've got to figure out a way to silence these people, because they figured out a way to silence Tommy Robinson. They just throw him in jail. They figured out a way to make sure that nobody else can hear what he has to say. But now if you say, hey, maybe that Tommy Robinson guy was right and we should stop the grooming gangs in England, then they want to be able to silence you. And then they'll change the definition of Islamophobia, and then saying a sentence that includes Arabs grooming gangs or Arabs raping British girls or something like that, that's going to just be fully against the law, and then they'll just throw you in jail, right? If you say that, they'll just throw you in jail. Keir Starmer's already set the precedent. How dare you protest against murder of children by a foreigner or by somebody who's been radicalized by foreigners? Because the whole big thing was he wasn't actually a foreigner, but people were calling him a foreigner, and so that was misinformation that was inciting hate and things like that. So the whole thing is absolutely bonkers. Like we have laws created that are so poorly written that just by expressing your opinion, just by saying, I don't think the country should do that. I've lived in this country my whole life. I'm a tax-paying, fully functional voter. I have a full right to have a say in this country, and I don't think we should do this. They'll say, well, you're not allowed to have that opinion. You're going to jail. That's racist. That's terrible. That's wrong, right? And that's Islamophobic, right? They want it shut down. They want us to just be ruled and hand over our tax dollars. Is that what you want? I don't. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful